Good morning and welcome to Conquest Sector 2. Now, yesterday, when I incorrectly said that it was Wednesday, and some of you pointed out that it was actually Thursday, well, first of all, you have no idea what day I recorded that video, but you are correct, and I think that we need to remember that I am an educator, and it is summer and the days bleed together when you're not working every day. And now that it is August and I'm halfway through, Sunday is Monday, Monday is Thursday, Tuesday doesn't make any sense, and I live for Saturday afternoon. With that said, I have heard some nice feedback from the format that we did with Sector 1, and we will continue that going into all of the sectors, at least for this conquest. It is a lot more work for myself. It is way more work for Moonborn, who makes everything that I do look pretty. So make sure to shout him out and show him love on Discord and share those infographics around because he puts a lot of work into it. And we will get into Sector 2 right after I fly through the air or whatever. Okay, so Conquest Sector 2, just like with Sector 1, I have my picks, and then I have the more mid-game picks, right? So my picks are the way that I'm going to do things based on what my account looks like at 13.4 million. And then the second infographic is really based on a roster that maybe does not have as many options and isn't able to just throw shit at the wall and be hyper efficient, and you're just trying to get certain feats done. Let's go over the sector feats, and I'll just remind you of the important global feats because things like 250 enemies on the challenge path are irrelevant. You're going to get those done anyway. Our sector feats are win 10 battles with Omega, Fugitive, and Batcher, which is going to line up with the win 20 battles with Omega Fugitive surviving, and that's nice. Attempt to inflict daze 40 times. Win 20 battles without losing any units. And we won't focus on that on any of our infographics just because any team should be able to do that as long as the team is cohesive. And attempt to inflict buff immunity 40 times. Now, for what is pertinent on the global feats, win 20 battles with 3 Darkside clones, win 20 battles with Full Jedi Vanguard, win 20 battles with Omega Fugitive surviving, gain advantage 200 times, and attempt to inflict accuracy down 100 times. Now, one thing that we have noticed with this conquest in particular is that we are going to be seeing an overabundance of usage from the new Bad Batch squad, or target practice Boogaloo. And the way that I do Conquest is I wake up, I get all of my battles out of the way right when I wake up. So it's like 6 in the morning. And then any additional energy I get throughout the day, I'll try to use offhand teams and do things that maybe aren't as efficient but will push the needle, which means that with that 24-hour barrier, I can generally get a team down to 50% and not have to worry about it until the next day. If I can get, again, 5 to 6 battles that will allow a mega fugitive to survive, then I'm happy. Then I can go back later and it won't be such a pain in the ass to finish up. So my picks, starting with the whale team, this is actually a team I will not be able to use, though hopefully by the second conquest I will. So we'll start right at the bottom. Jedi Master Mace Windu, Depa Balaba, Keller and Beck, Temple Guard, and Jocasta Nu. You're going to get buff immunity that has to do with the way that Jedi Master Mace Windu's unique interacts with the enemy. days from Jocasta's AoE, though that can only be used once per battle. Once she goes into rifle mode, you're not getting any more. The good news is it's an AoE, so you will get 5 out of that attempt, and that's perfectly fine. You'll get your win with Jedi Vanguard, and you'll get gain advantage from Depa after Shadow Point, right? Which is a Jedi Master Mace Windu and a Mace Windu kind of thing that they do. Um, Again, it's not a team that I can use, but it is a stronger team that is going to allow you to get those things done relatively fast. The way that I plan to get through this sector, I am going to start with my new Bad Batch squad, but I am going to take Crosshair out of there, and I am going to throw in old Bad Batch Echo. I would prefer to throw Batcher out, but because Batcher is a feat, it doesn't make sense to do that. And we're going to get buff immunity. It's not hyper reliable. It's going to rely on hunters, mercenaries, soldier of fortune. And because of the way that he gains and loses them, I'm not sure if you'll get enough soldier of fortune to be able to ever get those buff immunities, but we won't know it until we try. Days we'll get from Hunter Merc and Echo's AoE special. We're also going to get Omega Fugitive and Batcher surviving, Omega Fugitive surviving, and we're going to gain advantage from Omega Special too, right? So that's a pretty hyper efficient team. I just want to make sure that I'm looking out for the right nodes, though honestly, I've seen the team just do some really, really nice things in ooh, look at that. I've seen the Bad Batch team do some really, really nice things in Conquest. I'm not worried about them. I am going to also try to throw in a Keller and Beck team with Jocasta New. Now, I can actually really you can't. Because in my head, what I'm thinking about is old Mace Windu, just to kind of get you where my thought process is. But we can't really throw him in because he's not Jedi Vanguard, right? So this Keller and Beck and Jocasta new team, which is going to get me just days off of Jocasta's AoE and win with Jedi Vanguard. This is kind of going to be my all right, my other teams are low on stamina and I need to make progress. What do I do, team? And it allows me to push through the global feat without dropping my staminas too much lower. So this is going to be like an offhand team that I may end up using like 2 or 3 times. And then I'm also going to rely pretty heavily on Leia, Captain Rex, Cassian Andor, R2D2, and Mon Mothma. I know some of you are like, wait a second, why isn't Drogon in there? Drogon's always with Leia. But the reality is that he kills things way too fast. Okay, I don't want to like sit here in a 30-minute battle. Well, you can't do that. They're only 5 minutes long. But I do want to take my time with this and be able to get those buff immunities. Leia's special will apply it on tanks, but Cassian has it on his basic. So if I can find a nice team that doesn't do a ton of damage, and it is Sector 2, and if there are defensive data discs, this is something that I can, I'm not as worried about Leia's special, but this is something that I can probably throw on auto basic and get a pretty decent amount of buff immunities. The only thing that kind of stops me from doing that is I do want to get the dazes from Captain Rex's AoE, and Mon Mothma's summon also does that as long as it is upgraded past the first level. Okay, so the goal here is I want a nice long battle, and if I do this right, I should be able to get it done in 2 or 3 battles. And then R2D2 special does give advantage, which is going to help us with the global feats, right? So I'm not packing in with too many teams here on my side. I may end up having to do some extra global feat battles because my hope is that I get all of these other than the survive or win 10 battles feat done relatively quickly. If I find that I need just extra battles and not necessarily extra feats, this is where I might start with my 3 dark side clones team. And for me, that's Lord Vader and all 4 clones, right? Just to get it kind of out of the way. And this is where I'll maybe throw in 2 or 3 of those. Another thing that you could throw in is like a Jabba team with Cad Bane to just start stacking some of those accuracy downs. But that's only if you get to a point where you're getting low on stamina and you don't want to get even lower because you know that the teams are not going to be as effective. When we talk about my non efficiency picks, important thing to remember down on the bottom, we have isolated characters that do buff immunity on basic. So Cassian Andor, Jedi Knight Anakin, Rolo does it. And actually, JML has it on his basic as well. So you don't even really need to throw these guys in if you're using the JML call method. And then days on basic, BB-8, Captain Han Solo, Zeb, Mission Vow, and Veteran Smuggler Chewie. And the reason that I put those down there and the reason that I focus only on the light side characters is because we're talking about using those characters in a Jedi Master Luke team where you throw in 4 Jedi and you just keep calling that character over and over and over again. It is the oldest conquest trick in the book, and it is one of the things that makes Jedi Master Luke amazing at Conquest. So some picks here. We have a JML, Jedi Knight Anakin, Bastilla Shan, Jedi Knight Revan, and Jedi Knight Cal Kestis. Days off of JML Special, Jedi Knight Cal Kestis AoE. Buff immunity is basically implied throughout a ton of the team, and then advantage off of Jedi Knight Cal Kestis' other special. So there's a lot going on here. And the important thing to remember with a Jedi squad is that they are super modular, right? So if you're looking at this and you go, oh crap, I don't have Jedi Knight Cal Kestis, fine, put him in with somebody else. You are going to lose a little bit of days. You're going to lose a little bit of advantage. But the goal here is you're trying to get those buff immunities. And JML's special also does days anyway. So just something to kind of keep in mind is that especially with that squad, you have a lot of opportunity to throw whatever you want to do in there. The idea with these graphics is to give you some ideas. You can also throw in a 501st squad, right? Gas has days on his AoE. So if you happen to have a 501st squad, it's a nice way to get it done. Again, these are picks for the mid game, so you're not going to get too much extra, but if you just need to find dazes and that's the thing that's you've been having trouble with, great. You could throw in gas and be done with it. The same thing with General Grievous team. They tend to be a very strong team in Conquest. B2 has buff immunity on his AoE. The only caveat here is that General Grievous does end up killing his own team. So depending on the data discs, it's not always a hyper efficient way to get things done. The nice thing, though, is if you get through the sector and you're on the bonus node and you've already beaten the bonus node, and you get a 1-star win or a 2-star win, you get the same amount of datacron material regardless. So whether you're winning with 1 star or 2 stars only really matters if you're doing it throughout the entirety of the sector. And I try to keep that in mind with the bosses as well. When I get a 1-star win and I get all upset, and then I go, oh, wait a second, I have to do the battle again anyway to get the other feat. So it's really not a big deal. I'll get it on the way back. The Gungans are a solid team here as well. If you happen to have, well, I guess you could just do a 4-man if you don't have Jar Jar. But anytime that Tarples attacks out of turn, you are going to get a buff immunity. Phalanx has days on his basic. I did not put him in the bottom area because he's so squishy without the shield generator that it wouldn't make sense to put him in a JML team unless you used Watt to give JML tank tech, and you were against a team that had literally zero AoE. That would be the only instance in which I could see that being done. And Tarple's basic will also give you advantage. So if you really pushed hard in Naboo, this is a team that you can kind of use as well. Amalgus led or Darth Revan led. Again, it doesn't matter. Sith Empire team, you're gonna get your buff immunity from Darth Revan's basic, and you're gonna get days from Darth Maul's AOE special. Now I know he is not Sith Empire. I know that Darth Maul is not one of the strongest characters in the game, but a lot of people have him at relics because of Naboo, and a lot of people have him at relics because of his different GL associations. So he is a very common character to have. I threw in Malgus, Malik, Bad Stilla, Darth Revan, and Maul, and I do think that will work rather well. If you don't have Malgus, you can throw in Darth Revan as your lead, right? So these are my picks. Let's just head over to the website, to swugga.gg. Let's see if there's anything else that we can see that maybe looks kind of easy that we can just talk through. Right, the big things that we're looking for here are attempt to inflict daze 40 times and buff immunity. So we are over. Let's see, some good daze ones. I think I hit all the good ones. I guess you could do. Yeah, I mean, you could do an Imperial Troopers squad, right? The old school Veer Stark Piet, and you'll be able to get dazes that way. I've never really liked using the team in Conquest, but if you have a fast team, if you're early game, if there are nice speed or TM discs available, a Imperial Trooper team would do fairly solid there. Count Dooku, does he have that on his basic? No, not on his day basic. So no, we don't care about that one. Dash Rendar does have it on his AoE as well. It's a pretty high cooldown, but if you do something like Bam Lead, Han Chewie, Dash Rendar, you could at least get 5, maybe 10 per battle. So that's a not terrible option if that's the only option that is available to you. I believe we said this yesterday. You can use an Empire squad. Mara Jade does inflict it on her basics, so something like Papa Palp, Mara Jade. I guess you could do like Star Killer and do Jedi and Sith and kind of throw those all together, but it will give you a decent amount with the amount of times that she attacks. Kira, she have it also. Ooh, look at that. She has days on her basic as well, and I missed that. So there's a great option too that you can just throw with a JML squad. She does have to crit, but it's still a viable option. Um, there's nothing else that stands out to me. I don't really want to use the Mandalore squad here unless I have to because of how much I need it in the next sector. What about my friend over here? No, that is Grand Arena only. And this is only if he's dying, so we don't like that. We already know about BB-8, so I mean, you can also throw in a resistance squad if you really want to, if that's all you've got going for you. A resistance squad will get you the dazes. Let's check out the buff immunity real quick. We already talked about Cassian. Did we talk? I mean, Commander Luke Skywalker has buff immunity on his middle special. You're not going to get a lot of it with him, but you will be able to get a few. So if this is a core squad for you, at the very least, you'll be able to start on getting things done. think hers is part of her Omicron. Yep, it's part of the Omicron. Um, hmm, that's part of that, so that's not going to work for us. There's a lot of ooh. This might give us some extra credence. Look at that. So if you do the Mara Jade days, you will be able to get a couple buff immunities with Starkiller. Starkiller. Um, hers is on basic, but it's not a great team. I think his is on Maul loses. It takes. I mean, yeah, you could do a Maul-led Mandalorian team and use Seething Rage because you'll be able to get 5 buff immunities there. So that's not the worst idea in the world if you don't have too many other options. Don't see anything else too crazy. I think this one is, yeah, with 4 stacks, and you don't get lots of those. Things die too quickly. This is on his TW Omicron. I don't see anything else that really, really stands out to me. So that's Sector 2. Uh, A couple of things to keep in mind is that in Sector 3, we are going to want to use our new Bad Batch. So we want to prioritize only really using new Bad Batch early in the sector so that we can give them some time to recharge between. And we're going to branch out a little bit more tomorrow with some of the teams we use. So, other than those, we shouldn't have too much overlap. But as always, if you are stuck, I implore you guys, head to our Discord, pop into our Conquest chat. Between myself, between Moonborn, between some of the other really helpful people, between Kazgul, who just loves getting one over on CG and will find every literal cheese for Conquest, there is somebody that can help you. There is somebody that can figure out how to get you a feat unless you literally do not have a character available. With that all said, I hope you found this helpful. Stick around tomorrow when we will do our Sector 3 feats. And peace out and have a great rest of your day.